So here are some tips and advice on how to set the watch up for a triathlon. I've condensed this into a 5-step checklist. The first step is to check your triathlon menu setting. That's to go on, push the top right button, select triathlon, then press and hold the left middle button and go into triathlon settings. Make sure that activities are of the correct type and in the correct order. So for a normal triathlon, that should be open water, followed by bike, followed by a run. If you want to change any of these activities, press the top right button and push the change to select the correct activity. So in this case, that should be open water. Next up is that we check transitions. Transitions on means that your watch will record transitions between your open water and bike and run as separate activities. And I would recommend keeping this set to on. Lock keys means that when set to on, your watch will not respond to key presses during an activity. And to turn off the lock keys, you need to press and hold any of the buttons. I only keep this on for open water swimming, as I find that's when there is the highest chance of accidentally yourself or somebody else pressing one of the buttons. After that, you also have the option of a repeat, which means that after the triathlon activity is done, you can select to repeat that activity. I keep this set off as I think one triathlon day is more than enough for most people. And after that, we have alerts. If set to allow, that means that if you have any pace alerts or time alerts set inside your bike or run activities, they will appear during your triathlon. The same with autolap. If you have an autolap setting set to on in any of the activities, it will also show during the triathlon. Auto pause means that the watch will stop recording your activity if you are stationary for a certain time. And I think this should stay to do not allow, as during a race you would like to record the full real time of your triathlon. Auto scroll, if set to allow, that means also if you are using auto scroll in any activities, that will also happen during the triathlon. And finally, power same timeout, which can be set to extended, which is 25 minutes, or normal, which is 5 minutes. That's basically the time the watch will stay in standby mode when you're waiting for an activity to start. So say you are about to start your triathlon, you go into triathlon and you're here waiting for the race start. The watch in extended power save mode will stay in this standby mode for up to 25 minutes. That means you can just push the start button when the race starts. So that completes the first step. Now on to the second step, which is to go into each of the activity menus. So we start off with open water, and the thing we want to check here is first of all our data fields. Are they the ones we want? And if not, let's change them to the settings we want. So personally, I like to keep things very simple in the open water swim. So for data screens, I just have time as well as distance. But here you can go ahead and edit and enter any data field that you would like. Alerts, I don't use that during the open water swim, and autolap as well, I keep that to off. So that's the open water activity menu. Let's go ahead and look at the bike activity. Same here, we're gonna check that our data fields are the ones that we would like. Here, what I use is one screen with 4 fields showing distance, time, heart rate, and normalized power. And I also have a lap distance, lap time, lap HR, and lap normalized power. I don't use any alerts, but as I said, I use the auto lap for every 5 kilometers, and I have the lap alert set to lap heart rate as well as lap normalized power. Auto pause, as mentioned, I keep that set to off, as well as all the other options for auto climb, 3D speed, 3D distance, which I don't think is of any use during a proper race. So that's the bike activity menu. Finally, let's have a look at run. Also here, check that the data fields are correctly set up. Personally, I keep here the distance, time, pace and heart rate, as well as lap distance, lap time, lap pace and lap HR. Next up is alerts. I don't use this, but you could here, for example, set a pace alert, where you would get an alert if you go slower or faster than your set paces. So metronome I have this set to off, but autolap is set to on, and I have it to set to each kilometers with a lap alert of the pace as well as the heart rate. So that completes the second step of the checklist. The third step is to check your sensors and accessories, that they are correctly connected to the watch. To check that, press and hold the left middle button, go down to settings, then go to sensors and accessories. And if you haven't added your sensors, for example your power meter before, you need to do that. If you have added it before, go down and check that it connects correctly. Here you can see I also have an external heart rate monitor, a foot pod, as well as a power meter. For example, for power meters, you might need to turn the pedals to wake it up in order for it to connect. But just make sure everything is working before a race. So the fourth step is to do a test activity. To do that, go into Start, scroll down to Triathlon, and we're going to simulate a race here. So now we are in an open water swim activity, waiting for race start. You press the start button, and as you can see, the locked keys function comes on automatically. And you see the data fields here. Even if I press a button, it will not respond. So when your swim is finished, you need to press and hold one of the buttons for it to unlock the keys first. And to enter the transition, when you get out of the water, you press the lap key. It will say transition 1, and then show you your transition time, as well as the total time for the race. So once you get out of transition onto the bike, you press the lap key again, and it will start the bike activity. And you will see here we got our bike data fields. Notice as well, for all the activities during triathlon, you get a separate data field showing your total time for the full triathlon. So once you finish on the bike, you're entering your second transition, press your lap key. It will say transition 2. And as in the first instance, also here showing you the transition time and the total time. So going out for the run, press the lap key again. It will start the run activity. Here you can see we have our run data fields. And as you finish your triathlon, you press the lap key, and it will give you a confirmation of triathlon complete. And just make sure here that you save your activity in a race. We don't need to do that now, as we're just doing a walkthrough, of course. So that's the fourth step. So the last step is to check your battery. To do that, press and hold the left middle button, and you should see your battery level. Mine is here at 45%, and I would always recommend you to fully charge your battery before a triathlon. So that's a quick walkthrough on how to set the Fenix 5 up for a triathlon. Hope it was useful.